Maikwi, Neknamalita, and this is my channel, The Midnight Librarian, and today I'll be talking about my January 2024 TBR. So first TBR of 2024, it's exciting, it's a little nerve-wracking. I will be continuing on with my Pokemon Cards Choose My TBR game, though I am going to have some tweaks to it. So if you don't know what that is, I have a playlist that I'll link above as well as down below. But basically I have a bunch of Pokemon booster packs that hold about 10 cards per, and they're kind of randomized in terms of like I can kind of guess that there's going to be like 1 or 2 trainer cards or etc. and usually like one type of holographic. Each Pokemon type has a prompt attached to them that helps me pick my TBR. The thing that I'm going to tweak a little bit is the prompts, mostly because I ended up getting going down a rabbit hole as one does at late into the night last night after my brother ended up commenting that I should keep track of which Pokemon cards I get. And that led me to think like there must be some kind of database that has all the types of Pokemon cards, and there is, and it's, what is it called? Bulbagarden.net, and it's a type of like, it's Bulbapedia, so it's a type of Pokemon Wikipedia that has a huge database on all the cards in all the different packs or expansions. So, which is really cool. And then I found that someone has created an Excel sheet to help you track which ones that you get per pack. The reason for that story is because I realized that there are some prompts within my Pokemon TBR game that will never see the light of day because the Pokemon cards don't do that. So there are some prompts that just will never come up. So for that, these ones are being deleted. Ice, which was a thick book over 300 pages. Poison, which is a murder mystery. Ground, a book set on a different country, continent, or planet. Flying, which was a small book, less than 200 pages. Bug, which was a sci-fi. Rock, which was a heavy read, literally or figuratively. Ghost, which was paranormal, and Fairy, which was a library book. So I had my suspicions, just because within the last year and a half that I've been doing this game, there were a couple Pokemon cards that I pulled that I'm like, why wouldn't this be a bug? Why is it grass? Or why wouldn't this be ice? Why is it water? Or why is this fighting? Shouldn't it be rock? Apparently the games do that, the cards do not. So that's helpful. So we're all learning. We're learning here. So that will be updated in my description down below too. I always post the prompts that I've attached to the cards in case you ever want to do it. So I will have an updated version as well. So this is my updated version. I'll go over them quickly. Grass is still the same as it was before, so a book with flora on the cover. Fire, which is a book that everyone is talking about. Water has changed. Before it was a book set in or around water or has water on the cover. This I feel like is very limiting just because I only have a certain amount of books with that in mind, and I feel like you've seen them all and it's becoming a chore for me to put them on my TBR. It's becoming repetitive for you. It's also making it so that I don't want to necessarily read them, which is then putting them on another TBR in the future. So I just don't want to do that anymore. So I'm switching that up to a book set on a different country, continent, or planet because I really like that prompt, and it was the idea of from shore to shore. I thought it was clever. Electric is still a quick read. Sidekick is still a thriller. Fighting is giving an author a fighting chance. So basically reading an author that I've read from before. So like a second chance author of sorts. Darkness, which used to just be dark, and that's horror. Metal, which used to be steel, is nonfiction. Dragon, still fantasy. Normal, which is also known as colorless, though I can see myself tripping up on that word, so it's remaining normal, is still contemporary. And then we have technically four types of trainer cards, but I'm not doing anything for the tool card because I haven't seen it enough to warrant that it has its own prompt just yet. If I do, watch, I'm gonna get all of them now. Then I'll create something, but in the meantime, I'm just kind of leaving it out in the meantime. It could, in my opinion, just be stuck with item too. So with item, that's going to be a library book. I know that I have some library books that need to be read too, so that I think will be helpful. We have the supporter card, which are technically other trainers. That's still going to remain a mood read. And then we have Stadium, which is a pet pick. which I think will be cute. It's kind of reminds me of the turn-based games, Pokemon Stadium game that I remember playing. So with that, I will choose 3 books that I am interested in and put treats on all 3 of them, and whichever pet I happen to choose that day, or whichever one's cooperating, whichever one it goes to first, that will be the book chosen. You've seen a pet pick before, right? So I think that will be fun. We have 4 animals. We have more than that, but we have 2 dogs and 2 cats that are more than willing to have a treat. So far, it's been my mom's cat, Jack, just because he is definitely motivated by treats. So, and he knows the deal by now. Energy card is still the color of the card needs to match the cover. So there's holographic, in which like just the artwork is holographic, and that is reading an anticipated read, and that can be anything published within the last year. And then there is reverse holo, which is where not the artwork is holographic, it's the border and the stats, and that is to read a backlist title, so anything published before, like, more than a year ago. And then we have the X or V cards, or basically, so I have 2 examples of this. These are really pretty like special cards. So like the V cards, this Ditto V, like there is no real artwork border, the whole thing is holographic. This one doesn't particularly have a V, but it is one of those ones that don't have, it's like full holographic. The illustration is only constricted by the border of the cards. These type of full holos is what I call them. I don't think that's actually what they're called, but I'm calling them X and V, are my excuse to buy a new book. So a new release title that I want to read. So hopefully that makes sense. Thank you for bearing with me going through that. That took longer than I expected. And we'll go ahead and get into what I want to read for January. I do have a couple of books that I would like to get on my TBR to help fulfill some of the challenges that I mentioned in my 2024 goals. Buzzwordathon 24 of 2024 challenge, book of the month, and an Indigenous author. And I think it's only fair to go ahead and choose a pack from the Astral Radiance deck that my brother ended up getting me for Christmas. Get rid of this top one. Okay. Here we go. So this is Per Ugly, which is a colorless or normal Pokemon, so as to read a contemporary. Alright, so for Per Ugly, I think I'm going to go ahead and try to knock off one of my 24 of 2024 freebie picks, and that is Son of a Trickster by Eden Robinson. This is an urban fantasy, Canadian First Nation Indigenous authored book, following, I already forgot his name, Jared, who is 16 years old, burnout in high school, and who sells weed cookies and has a scary mom who's often wasted and wielding some kind of weapon. Jared smokes too much, drinks too much, and his mom is a mess, and he can't rely on anyone for consistent love and support except for his flatulent pit bull, baby killer. But now she's dead. Good. He's also a kid with an immense capacity for compassion and an impulse to watch over people more than twice his age, and he tries his best to stabilize his family and keep everything afloat. But it's weird the way he sometimes blacks out, and he puzzles over why his maternal grandmother has never liked him, why she says he's the son of a trickster, that he isn't human. Also, ravens have begun to speak to him, even when he's not stoned. You think you know Jared, but you don't. So I've been meaning to read this for the last couple of years. It's one of the reasons why I put it on my 24 of 2024. There is a series adaptation that got canceled, but I think that went the more horror route. I'm still very curious about this. Hopefully this will help me do it. I'm a little nervous though, I will say, just because I did DNF and Eden Robinson book from my 23 of 2023 challenge, so we'll see how that goes. This is Celine, which is a trainer card, a supporter trainer card. So this is a mood read. For that, I'm just going to pop in the book that I would like to start and finish first in 2024, and that is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the hopefully you guys know what this is, but if you don't, this is essentially the prequel to Lord of the Rings by the same author. It's a classic children's book. We are following Bilbo Baggins as he kind of gets enticed onto this adventure with 12 dwarves who were after their kingdom under the mountain that was taken over by a dragon centuries ago, kind of guided by Gandalf the Grey. Yeah, they have a bunch of obstacles they need to face before they reach the mountain. Even then, they have more obstacles to face. So this is going to be a reread for me, but it's one that I've been really wanting to reread recently, particularly during this holiday season. For some reason, I just have found myself reading J.R.R. Tolkien, and that's just kind of just become tradition now for me. So lucky I didn't start reading this during Christmas, but hopefully for the new year I can get on it. I enjoy this book. It does have some fat phobia in it, so just content warning for that, but I do ultimately really enjoy it, and I think it's really fun. I think it'll be a nice little like adventure story at the beginning of a new year, particularly my 33rd year, which in Hobbit halfling, it's that's the age that you become an adult. So I'm leaning into that. I want to be Bilbo Baggins for Halloween, all the things. So that's what I'm choosing for Celine, just to get it on there. Next. This is Shieldon, which is a metal type Pokemon, and for metal it's to read a nonfiction, which is perfect because I have a nonfiction book that I would like to read for the Buzzwordathon for the Buzzword in January. January's buzzwords are there, and there. And for that, I am interested in reading Been There, Done That, A Browsing History of Sex by Rachel Feltman, read by Rachel Feltman. I saw this through the Storygraph challenge of Buzzword. A rollicking myth-busting history of sex that moves from historical attempts at birth control to Hildegard von Bingen's treatise on the female orgasm, demystifying plenty of urban legends along the way. Roman physicians told female patients that they should sneeze out as much semen as possible after intercourse to avoid pregnancy. Historical treatments for erectile dysfunction included goat testicle transplants. In this kaleidoscopic compendium of centuries-old erotica, science writer Rachel Feltman shows how much sex has changed and how much it hasn't. With unstoppable curiosity, she debunks myths, breaks down stigma, and uses the long, outlandish history of sex to dissect present-day practices and taboos. This sounds really interesting, it sounds really fun, and it completes a yearly challenge, so perfect. Next. This is an energy card, particularly a water energy card, so I need to find a book with blue on the cover. This would have worked for Son of Trickster. Okay, I'm going to choose a book of the month pick for this, and it's another one that I've been trying to get to all of them, but this one in particular I've been curious about, mostly because I've been curious about Emily Henry's backlist work, and that is When the Sky Fell on Splendor. It's not quite there. I mean, on the camera it looks better, so but yeah, this is like one of her first books, I want to say, like romance. Almost everyone in the small town of Splendor, Ohio, was affected when this local steel mill exploded. If you weren't a casualty of the accident yourself, chances are a loved one was. That's the case for 17-year-old Franny, who 5 years after the explosion still has to stand by and do nothing as her brother lies in a coma. In the wake of the tragedy, Franny found solace in a group of friends whose experiences mirrored her own. The group calls themselves The Ordinary, and they spend their free time investigating local ghost stories and legends, filming their exploits for their small following of YouTube fans. It's silly, it's fun, and it keeps them from dwelling on the sadness that surrounds them. Until one evening when the strange and dangerous thing they filmed isn't fiction. It's a bright light, something massive, hurtling towards them from the sky. And when it crashes and the teens go to investigate, everything changes. This is like comparing to The Serpent Kings meet Stranger Things. I haven't watched or read either of those. So, yeah, that's what I'm choosing for that. That's a book of the month book down too. Woo! We'll see how this motivation lasts throughout the year. Usually by March I'm over it. Next we have Regirock, which is a fighting Pokemon, which is to read an author I read from before. So I think there's a couple of things I could choose from that I may end up getting in time. The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. I read, was it Guest List by Lucy Foley? And it wasn't bad. It was just okay. And I've been curious about this one. Let's see. Jess needs a fresh start. She's broke and alone, and she's just left her job under less than ideal circumstances. Her half-brother Ben didn't sound thrilled when she asked if she could crash with him for a bit, but he didn't say no, and surely everything will look better from Paris. Only when she shows up to find a very nice apartment could Ben really have afforded this. He's not there. The longer Ben stays missing, the more Jess starts to dig into her brother's situation, and the more questions she has. Ben's neighbors are an eclectic bunch and not particularly friendly. Jess may have to come to Paris to escape her past, but it's starting to look like it's Ben's future that's in question. The socialite, the nice guy, the alcoholic, the girl on a verge, the concierge. Everyone's a neighbor, everyone's a suspect, and everyone knows something they're not telling. So yeah, I think that'll be a good one. So that one hopefully will come to me within the next 2 weeks through Libby. So that's what I'm choosing for Regirock. Next. Whoops, that's upside down. Sorry. So this is Reggie Steel, and it is a metal Pokemon, and it's also a reverse holo, so a backlist title. A backlist nonfiction. For that, I think I'm going to go ahead and do another 24 of 2024 pick, and that is The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, A New History of the Lost World by Steve Broussard, narrated by Patrick Lawlor. This came out, when did it come out? In 2018, so that's perfect. The dinosaurs 60 million years ago, the Earth's most fearsome creatures vanished. Today, they remain one of our planet's great mysteries. Now, the rise and fall of the dinosaurs reveals their extraordinary 200 million year long story as never before. In this captivating narrative, enlivened with more than 70 original illustrations and photographs, Steve Broussard, a young American paleontologist who has emerged as one of the foremost stars of the field, naming 15 new species, leading groundbreaking scientific studies and fieldwork, masterfully tells the complete, surprising, and new history of the dinosaurs, drawing on cutting-edge science to dramatically bring to life their lost world and illuminate their enigmatic origins, spectacular, flourishing, astonishing diversity, cataclysmic extinction, and startling living legacy. Captivating and revelatory, The Rise and Fall of Dinosaurs is a book for the ages. So it's a 10-hour, 6-minute audiobook. I'm interested in it. It was on my want to read list. It's on my 24 of 2024, but I'm glad to be able to get that another 24 of 2024 book on here. Next. Okay, this is Poochyena, which is a darkness Pokemon, which is to read a hoarder. I think for Poochyena, I'm going to go ahead and choose Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. This, not really, other than like it was the closest horror book to me right now. I've been wanting to read this. I've heard mixed things about it. I'm fairly curious about it though. I really like the cover, and I've been wanting to read more from Sarah Gailey. Though I'm realizing I keep getting Sarah Gailey and Delilah Dawson mixed up. I don't know why. I thought for sure this was Delilah Dawson and it's not. So I don't know what's going on there. Just Like Home is a darkly gothic thriller. Is it really a thriller? It's not a horror. No, it's horror. Okay. Okay, come home. Vera's mother called and Vera obeyed, in spite of their long estrangement, in spite of the memories. She's come back to the home of a serial killer, back to face the love she had for her father and the bodies he buried there. Coming home is hard enough for Vera, and to make things worse, she and her mother aren't alone. A parasitic artist has moved into the guest house out back and is slowly stripping Vera's childhood for spare parts. He insists that he isn't the one leaving notes around the house in her father's handwriting, but who else could it possibly be? So yeah, that's all I know. That's all I really want to know. So okay, this is Glam Meow, which is another normal, which is to read another contemporary. Let's continue with the serial killer, shall we? For Glam Meow, I'm gonna go ahead and do Find Me, because this is another one I keep having on my TBR that I need to read. I swear this one was almost on my 24 of 2024 for my freebie picks. I really like the cover. So this is Find Me by Anne Fraser. This is following a convicted serial killer, Benjamin Fisher, who's finally offered to lead San Bernardino detectives to the isolated graves of his victims. His catch is that an FBI profiler has to join them. The problem with the FBI profiler joining him is that it is his estranged daughter, Rennie, who as a child unknowingly and unwittingly ended up helping lure victims to her father. Yep. Okay, this is a Hisuian Basculin, which is a water Pokemon, which is to read a book that is set in another country, another continent, or another planet. And for this, I think I'm going to go ahead and go with Artemis by Andy Weir. So technically I think it's based on the moon. I've heard mixed things. Actually, like from my understanding, this is like the least favorite out of Andy Weir's writings. Everyone I think prefers The Martian and Project Hail Mary. I enjoyed The Martian, but I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if I hadn't watched the movie first with Matt Damon. But I've been curious about this one, and I've been wanting to read this one before going on with Project Hail Mary. So from my understanding with this one, we are following a young woman, Jasmine Bashara, who wants to be rich, like not like billionaire eccentric rich. She just wants to be able to move out of her shoebox of an apartment and eat more than just flavored algae on the only lunar colony and establishment. But so when a job comes that she cannot refuse, it's her graduating from small-time smuggler to full-on criminal mastermind. And it calls for a particular combination of cunning, technical skills, and large explosions, not to mention sheer breeze and swagger. But Jazz has never run into a challenge her intellect can't handle, and she figures she's got the swagger part down. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind another Book of the Month book being knocked out, too. Is Hisuian Voltorb, which is a grass type Pokemon, so to read something with Flora on the cover. This is becoming a lot of physical books that I don't think it's going to be feasible. Okay, yeah, this is getting a little too much physical books. I know I am fairly slow when it comes to reading physically, but we're going to try. But for the Hisuian Voltorb, I'm going to go ahead and put on a recent book that I hauled recently. I don't know if that's put out yet. I don't think I have yet. Anyway, sneak peek for that. That this is Richard Mabey's Weeds, in defense of nature's most unloved plants. Weeds are botanical thugs, but they have always been essential to our lives. They were the first crops and medicine, and they inspired Velcro. They adorned weddings and foliate the most derelict urban sites with the verve and historical breadth of Michael Pollan. Acclaimed nature writer Richard Mabey delivers a provocative defense of the plants we love to hate. So I know I particularly need to weed my garden right now, and have been needing to for a while, and prep it for the colder months that are coming up. It's already getting real cold, but particularly our colder months are in January and February, so been needing to do that. Yet today there's a storm, but that's what I'm choosing for Hotline Voltorb. And then my final book. Nice. So this is Mantine, which is another water Pokemon. So to read a book that is on another country, continent, or planet, and for that, I think I'm going to go ahead and try to do The Empire of Ivory by Naomi Novik. So this is the 4th book in the TBR series. I talked about it a lot at the beginning of 2023, and then it just kind of fell off. I just kind of fell off. But this is a historical fantasy series. We are following Captain Lawrence, who was a British royal captain in the British Navy. He overtook a French frigate. This is during the Napoleonic Wars, and there was a dragon egg on it. It is their duty to take it back to Britain so that they can use it in the war. However, the dragon egg ended up hatching, so it is also their duty to try to harness the dragon before it goes feral. The dragon can choose this, and it chooses the person who ultimately will be riding it, and it chose Captain Lawrence, unbeknownst to both of them, and unbeknownst to him. So we kind of, as the series goes on, get to explore what it means to be a dragon rider in a Napoleonic era, and how different areas treat their dragons. The book 3 was a little slow, but I've heard that that's one of the slowest, and it picks up at book 4, and it looks like, and just by the title Empire of Ivory and the cover that I'm looking at, that was recently redone by oh, I forget her name, but she's like one of my favorite cover artists. It sounds like it might be based in Africa this time around, so that'll be interesting. So yeah, that is my choice for Mantine. Okay, so those are the books that I have chosen for my January TBR. It's quite a lot, I feel like. A lot physically, anyway. We'll see how that goes. Otherwise, thank you so much for bearing with me. I know that it was kind of a lot re-explaining some of my prompts that I had to redo. Otherwise, if you read any of these, please let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. Please, no spoilers. And yeah, if you made it this far, let's go ahead and put some kind of water emoji, like waves or the beach or a water drop. I'm probably going to go with rain because it is stormy here. Thank you so much, and I hope that you are in the mental mindset to enjoy your reading. I will see you in another video very soon. Chew.